everybody, it's Erin from the Knitting Life podcast, and I am here to talk to you about my knitting, as the title of this podcast suggests. It is Wednesday, August 9th, and it has been about 3 months since I last put an episode out, but I am trying my best to get my energy up to show you what is on my needles and what is off my needles. I'm coming to you from the east coast of Canada in Nova Scotia, just in case you were wondering. So I have very few projects off the needles, as I have mentioned. I have been mainly right now dividing my spare time, what little I do have, with chasing two smallish boys around. I've been dividing it between knitting and reading. So I've been kind of on a big reading kick lately, which is also really enjoyable. And if you want to find out what I've been reading, you can look me up on Instagram. My name over there is Dufferin24. That's DUFFERIN24, and that is also my handle over on Ravelry, so you can check me out there as well. The first project that I want to show you is a pair of socks. Today you're going to see 3 pairs of socks and 1 hat. The first pair is a pattern and a yarn by West Yorkshire Spinners, and it is from their pattern and yarn collection, the Flourish collection, which is gorgeous. It's in their signature 4-ply fingering weight yarn, and every skein, every colorway is a different flower. So these here are my Pretty Petal lace socks, and if you hear some creaking over there, that's my cat. She's playing with the door. Pretty Petal lace socks. These are a cuff down heel flapping gusset, and they do have, as I said, a lace pattern in them. So at the front of the sock there is a diamond lace pattern, and at the back there are 3 smaller diamonds down the leg. And I really wish that my showing off, demonstrating capabilities were better, but it is kind of difficult to show it off that way. I mean, everybody's so used to showing their socks off like this on the sock blockers, but this is gorgeous, gorgeous yarn. This is easy project. It just isn't something that you probably want to do when you're watching TV, as it is a lace pattern and you do have to follow every row, as every row is different. And I absolutely love like where the heel flapping gusset joins, because the yarn kind of did this pooling thing, and it's so sweet. So that I got that yarn and the pattern in the mail, and I pretty much cast it on that day. I ordered that from my friend's shop, which is Yarn and Yarns, and that is a shop that can be located on Instagram and Facebook just by that name, Yarn and Yarns. So the patterns that are contained within the Flourish collection are 3 shawl patterns and 3 sock patterns, and they're all absolute stunners, and I definitely want to make each and every one of them. There's some cabled socks, which I love, and this shawl I absolutely adore, and I definitely want to make that one. I did get 2 other skeins of yarn in that order, 2 other balls, and these are in the colorways. At the front of the book it does tell you what each colorway is, and off the top of my head I can't remember. This is Foxglove. Love it. And this one is Gypsophilia. I'm probably definitely not saying that right. But it's a lovely green, and I think it's gonna knit up so nice. It is kind of blowing out with the light from the window, but so nice. So I think I might try my hand at making either these cabled ones or these one with the little baubles on it in these 2 colors. So nice. So I definitely down the line want to make the remaining 5 projects from this collection and using that yarn. So that is my first off the needles project. My second one, oh, and I forgot to say what size needles they were on. I can't remember off the top of my head. I feel like it was the 2.25, and actually 2.5 millimeter double pointed needles, and cuff down, heel flap and gusset. The second project is a pair of toe-up socks. I did toe-up socks, finally did toe-up socks. I was playing a nasty game of yarn chicken where I basically had knit a whole sock halfway down to the toe. So I did the cuff, the foot, the cuff, the leg, the heel, half the foot, and then I realized that I'm definitely not going to be able to pop out another sock with what is remaining from this skein. So I decided to finally bite the bullet, rip it back. Actually, I ripped it back again and tried to shorten the leg and realized again that that's not going to work. So I had to rip that all out, and I just said, I got to do it. I got to do the toe-up socks. So it pushed me to do it, which is good because one of my goals this year with knitting was to make sure that I kind of tried to do some new techniques like toe up, afterthought heels. So I actually have tackled that, and I was able to knock out another pair of socks and still have a tiny little bit left over to pop into my Cozy Memories blanket. So I'm super happy about that. Learned something new, got 2 pairs of socks out of 1 ball, and still have some left over, some scraps left over. So that's really maximizing your yarn usage. And this was like mystery yarn. I've talked about this yarn before on other podcasts. I did the Sixpence pattern, which is by This Handmade Life, Olivia. I can't remember her last name, but it's Sixpence. It's over on Ravelry, and it is a Miss Marble, Agatha Christie based themed pattern, and I absolutely love that. I've made that twice, definitely want to make it again. She has 6 of those Miss Marble patterns, and the Sixpence one is the only one that is cuff down, and that was the only one that I could do up until that point because I had never done toe up. So now I'm happy to say after these socks that I will be trying the other 5 patterns that Olivia has because I love Agatha Christie and I love Miss Marple. I'm a secret wannabe Miss Marple. So about these socks, I'd watched the tutorials for the Judy's Magic Cast On previously on YouTube just to kind of get an idea what it was all about. It totally looked fiddly. I did not want to try it. But I did watch it again, and I decided to give it a hook, and I have a little note as to what I did. I didn't use a pattern for these. What I did do was kind of a mishmash of patterns. So I had just searched in YouTube toe-up socks, and I came up with the video Customizable Toe-Up Socks, and that is by Purl Together. So she has 3 separate videos on how to do the toe-up socks. So for initially just getting started, I did watch the first part of the 3, and in that video she references the increases. So it's actually called the Seam Free Rounded Toe for a Toe-Up Sock, and that is a pattern on Ravelry by Lynn Ashton. And if you look at that customizable toe-up sock pattern video by Purl Together in the link bar down below, she has a link to that pattern on Ravelry, and it is free, so I'm really not giving anything away by discussing it, but it's pretty cool. She uses make ones to do the increases, but she does like a variation of the make ones. It's not the typical picking up kind of the stitch in between, the little bar in between the 2 stitches. It's depending on which side you're doing the increase on, which side of the foot, you're going to pick up one of the legs of the stitch below the stitch that you're working on one side, and then almost like 2 stitches below on the other one because of the knitting and the construction of it. So it is pretty cool. It's a pretty cool, interesting thing to do, to see how the stitches form and the fabric is tightened and you're not going to be getting any gaps while doing your increases. So I really did like that, and I would totally do that for the remainder of my toe-up socks, because it really does work really well. I would do the make one that way. Like, I don't know if I would do the rounded toes. Usually the toes of my socks are somewhat pointy, like when I do vanilla socks. They're a bit, that one's rounded, I guess. One's rounded, but it's not as widely rounded as this one. So I would definitely do the other patterns maybe with less of a wide toe. I don't know. I'll just have to keep playing around with all the different patterns that are out there for toe-up socks. I'm super pumped now because I know how to do that and I can tackle all these new patterns. I did put in the Afterthought heel, and I used Croy yarn. I did have to go to the store to get more of that, but I always kind of have that. I can't remember what that's called. I think it's Croy. I think the colorway is Flax, but I always seem to have that colorway in my stash because kind of it just goes with everything, and it's not black but it's not white, because you know everything goes with black and white. But I definitely I definitely don't ever want to knit with black again. I think I already discussed this on another episode, where I find it absolutely impossible to find any of the stitches when I knit with black yarn. So that is the Afterthought heel, which is a new technique that I'm learning as well. And I feel like, that's just a little bit of the yarn there. I feel like my joins and my Afterthought heels are getting like tighter and less of holes. I shouldn't say no holes, but I mean less so. They're looking neater, way neater. So 2 new skills being used and using up all the yarn. Like, it's total win-win. These socks. The only weird thing is that this sock is like striped and this sock is pooled, but whatever, they definitely match. This is kind of weird. I think this is called the Russian cast off, I think. So after I had gotten all the way up to where I was just going to do the cuff and cast off, I think I put the heel in before I did the cuff. Anyways, but once I got there, I used Susan B. Anderson's toe-up sock pattern, because I've used her Afterthought heel ones, and I really just liked her explanation. It's pretty, her patterns and her explanations are pretty thorough, and they pretty much cover everything, and they give references for links that if you need help, and there's always lots of pictures and stuff. So I used her toe-up recipe pattern for the Afterthought heel and for the cuff, and I'm pretty sure this is called a Russian cast off. And as you can see, it's fairly loose. Like, I'm not super keen about that. If this was a pair of socks that had a really long leg, I definitely would not want that, because I feel like my socks would be down around my ankles all day long, and that would drive me bananas. But these are ankle socks, so they're already going to be down on my ankles, so that's pretty okay with me. So these socks make me super happy. And the next finished object that I have is another pair of socks, and these ones also make me wicked happy, just because of their coloring. But I do have a little side rant about the yarn. So these are just vanilla socks, cuff down, heel flap and gusset. And what are these toes looking like? See, this is my normal toe. I think I do to like 18 stitches. 9 and 9, 18. Yeah, I do to like 18 stitches. So I do double pointed needles. So the other ones I was just talking about obviously were on circular needles. I did, when I first started out knitting these, trying to do the toe up, I was trying them on double pointed needles because that is my favorite thing to knit on, and that was a huge mistake because I was cursing and swearing a lot. That was really, really, really fiddly. So that's when I went to the customizable, the way she was doing it in Purl Together's customizable toe-up socks. She was doing the circular needles. So that's way, way, way easier for me doing toe-up. So these ones are also in the double pointed needles. I think I do like, typically I think I do like 16 rounds for the cuff, but this looks like a bit more. I think I did like 2.5 inches or 3 inches of a cuff. I think I was just trying out to see what it would look like with a really long cuff. And I typically do 7 inches in total to the heel. So I did the, what I always do when I do a heel flap and gusset, I always do the same heel unless the pattern specifies something else. I do the Eye of Partridge heel, which I love. It always feels a bit thicker, and even though it doesn't show up really well on that pattern yarn, it looks snazzier. Definitely looks snazzier. I'll hold it this way. Do you see that? It looks really good. Anyway, this yarn is the Crazy Zauberball by Schoppl, Schoppl, and that is a German yarn. And I probably would never knit with this yarn again. First of all, well, I can't really make out, I suppose I could probably like Google it to like translate what it says on the tag, but it's in German, and the yarn is, I think it's like a 2-ply. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. Probably not. No. It was really slippery and slidey off the needles. If I probably used a wooden needle or a bamboo needle, I probably would have stayed on, but I did it on my favorite needles, which are the ChiaoGoo I think these are 2.25 double pointed needles. I did it on these socks on those, and the yarn kept sliding off, which is okay, but these ones are the 6-inch needles, and I like the way that they fit in my hand. I hold it almost like a pencil, but they are kind of short, which is what I like about them, but it's also what I hate about them, because if you have a lot of stitches on them, the stitches slide off the other end. So it's kind of a like fine balance to get it to be comfortable in your hand but stay on the needle. But I still think these are my favorite. So those were done on the 2.25 double pointed needles with the Schoppl yarn, and the other thing that I don't like about it is that the Crazy Zauberball is like this. It's all wound up in a ball, and each color variation is like in a little, it's together on its own. I don't know. Anyway, every time that you would take a little bit off, the ball gets a little bit looser and looser. Right now it's tight because I have this color wrapped tight around it, but that's what I had to do because every time it would just come right off. Like it comes right off the yarn, then it gets all tangled up and knotted. It was really frustrating, but well worth it because these are sharp. Look at that toe. Bam. Love it. I think the smart thing that I could have done though was realize that this is going to be basically like a stripy sock. So I probably should have did an afterthought heel, because look at that color change when you pick back up to do the foot decrease. It's harsh as heck. It's so gradual, all the color changes, and then nobody's gonna notice that. Only me. Only me. And other smart knitters. So those are my 3 pair of sock that three beers, pairs. Those are my 3 pairs of socks. The other finished object that I have is a hat. And it is, sorry for all the rustling, I got things all down here below me. You probably noticed I'm kind of in a different location. I was trying to film over in our room, and pretty much every wall has windows on it, except for the one that's usually behind me. Well, there is actually a window on that one. There's a door with a window. Anyway, it was just really weird, the lighting. Things weren't showing up the way I wanted them to. So I thought I'd come over here to one of my son's room, and you're actually sitting on a train table right now watching me. So I'm up against the wall sitting on the floor, which is way easier because everything's like spread out right around you. So if you're ever going to do a podcast, I kind of recommend that because it's way easier to see everything and grab everything. So I'm on the floor, everything's surrounding me, and you're here on a train table with Thomas the train and all his little friends behind you. So it's a great place to be. This is called the Rainbow Hat, and it is a pattern, and the yarn and needles. Oh, as you can see, I blocked it with the ribbing rim up. It's pattern. It's a whole kit with yarn, pattern, and needles, all by the Lismore Sheep Company, which is a local sheep farm, semi-local. It's probably about an hour and a half from here. It's in another county. It's a really nice place to visit whenever I need to get away, or whenever I need to like go on a little day trip and just like get like buy Woolies, some nice Woolies stuff. That's where I like to go. That's where we like to go. Everybody likes it there. My kids like it there. My husband kind of likes it there too as well. It's you can walk around the barn and meet the sheep, and they have little spots for picnic, and sometimes they have little farmers markets there. It's really nice. If you're ever in Nova Scotia, it's in River John, and it's called the Lismore Sheep Farm. I believe they also they're on Facebook for sure, but I think they also have their own website. So they do all their own yarn, and they also have another company which is called the River John Needle Company. So this particular hat is actually knit on their birch needle. So I have them kind of wrapped up here. So you get 5 needles, 5 double pointed needles, and they are so nice. This is when I first kind of got back into knitting. I did a lot of the heavy wool socks using this yarn. It's really thick rustic yarn, so that is what I used all the time when I first got back into knitting. So if your main obsession, your main love is fingering weight yarn, you probably will not enjoy knitting with this, unless you just kind of want to change it up and get back to how kind of yarn and wool is supposed to be. Like sometimes I just feel like I need kind of that to get back and touch this scratchy, stiff yarn. You know, it's unrefined, and it just kind of, I don't know, it makes me feel good. But only one of those projects every so often. So this is their little logo for their needles. Their needles are super nice. And anyway, what I was saying is that I used to knit with these all the time. And I don't know about you, but I lose needles all the time. I'm starting to get a little bit better since I've been using nicer project bags and needle cozies, but I used to be really, really bad for misplacing them. Like the phone would ring, or you get up to make something to eat or drink, and you come back and sit down and one of your needles is gone. Like, where does it go? when I had long hair, I used to kind of stick the needles in the back of my hair because that was always a good place to keep them. So I am growing my hair, so hopefully someday I'll be able to do that again. Anyway, long story short is I did actually sit on one of these one night. It wasn't pleasant. So this, as I was saying, is the rainbow hat, and it is, this is the outside, and this is the inside. So it is the twisted rib. The whole thing is twisted rib. It is kind of a bigger hat, more like a slouchy hat. I knit hats, but I never wear any of the hats that I knit. So this one actually I did sell. So it does belong to somebody else. I'm just waiting for them to come and pick it up. I totally knew that I probably wasn't going to wear it. I just couldn't resist buying the whole kit. And I really did enjoy knitting this. I knit this on a couple lunch breaks pretty much. I cast it on the day that I got it, and I think like in the evening I had knit like that much. I mean, it's thicker yarn and knits up super fast, and I did it on a couple lunch breaks, and I really super enjoyed it. So I was happy just to knit it. So that one belongs to someone else. So that's it for what is off the needles. I do have a lot of other projects on the needles, and I've been finding lately, especially where I have been kind of more taken up with reading, that I'm having a hard time with the fact that there are projects that are on the needles that haven't received any sort of attention whatsoever in a while. I pretty much before was always a monogamous knitter, and then I kind of thought maybe I would just start casting on different things. I think one day in the spring I just cast on like 6 projects or something, and then they just went in the closet and nothing really has happened with them since. And then at Christmas time I had also cast on a few things as well. So I just really, I kind of want to just focus on getting one thing done at a time for a while now. And then once all those projects are done, I'm going to focus on bigger ones. So this is a project that is a bigger one, and you have seen and heard me talk about it before, and I really just want to focus on just doing this. I want that finished product. I want to wear this sweater. This is the Harriet cardigan. It's also by West Yorkshire Spinners, and the yarn is also by them too. So it is 100% Wensleydale, and the yarn is lovely. It's their Gems collection. And up until about an hour ago, I had almost a sleeve done in this. I know, I ripped it out. The whole thing. It was massive, but it wasn't correct. It wasn't right. See how the pattern is like diagonal, going like the orange dots are going in a diagonal? Well, when I looked at it, it hasn't received attention in a while, so when I hauled it out to show it off to you guys, I looked at it and I was like, okay, some are diagonal and then some are like straight. So I don't know, I feel like I followed the pattern correctly, but maybe I didn't. I know that as this is my semi kind of first big color work project, that I am a bit nervous. I do have a bit of knitting nerves, and I feel like I'm getting a little bit stressed about having it perfect and just so. And of course I want it perfect and just so. I want to wear it, and I want to look like the model on the cover. It's totally not going to happen, but look, like, I want it. I want that sweater. So I want it to be just perfect. So I feel like it's just getting like, it was getting a little bit stressful for me to try to get it right. So my idea, my plan is to finish up the smaller projects that I have, projects that I have on the go, that are sitting in my closet, that are just waiting to be finished, that are easy peasy, mindless knits, and then I can just dedicate all my love and knitting attention to this. Because look, like even this 3 inches by like 6 inch swatch of a sleeve is so lovely. I actually try it on. I go like this. And I admire it. Well, today I had it like up to here. And I was like, loving it. But this is my work in project. This is one of my on the needles that I just love. And I'm going to tuck it away for a little bit now where it's back safely to a spot where I know that it's stable. It's in stable condition. That I can come back to it when I'm more focused. And we can get it off the needles. And this is my lovely bag that it's in. It's my Starbucks denim shopping bag. Can you see my Starbucks there? And I got my little enamel pin collection going on. Sock knitter. And this little gradient skein, which is totally blowing out. I'm blowing out. Everything's blowing out. Let's get back here. There we go. And one of the projects that I'm trying to get off the needles to move along closer to the Harriet cardigan is my Tertia shawl. Tertia, I believe is how you pronounce it. I really can't be for sure, but the spelling is Tircha, and that is by Critium Handmaids, and she is also on Instagram and I believe Ravelry as Critium Handmaids. And this was a shawl pattern that I won in a giveaway last summer. By another podcast, Patty, over at 4 Boys and an NL Girl. So my phone died. So I was saying that the Tertia shawl, I did win the pattern from the podcast 4 Boys and an NL Girl, and that's Patty, and she broadcasts from Newfoundland. So I am knitting this in the Richard DeVries colorway Singing. And it is gorgeous, gorgeous yarn. As well as Mothy and the Squid Speckled Rainbow. And here is the lovely shawl, which has an I-cord edging. And I think that is my favorite thing about the pattern, is the I-cord edging. Kind of hard to show it. It's not really, like, once it's blocked it'll be better. Doing it on the Addi Turbo golden needles, I feel like when I look at them I feel like it's like Nancy Kerrigan and Tanya Harding. Like, didn't one of them at the Olympics show up with their golden skates? I feel. So when I look at these are my golden needles, like I'm at the knitting Olympics. This is the reverse, which I feel is so nice. It's almost as nice as the right side. And the cool thing about the speckled yarn is that so far in the first chunk, I don't know what you'd say, the contrasting color, the contrasting bits, you can basically put them wherever you want. That is how the pattern goes. So I've just been doing roughly about every 6 1/4 inches for a chunk. Then I've been putting in the contrasting stripe, which I've just done for, I guess, 8 rows of stockinette stitch. Is that right? Anyway. So in the first one, it's kind of speckly, and in the second one, the colors are kind of pooling. And in the third one, speckling again, and now in the fourth one, it's pooling again as well, which I love. So this is pretty straightforward, and it shouldn't take me that long to knit. And that's pretty much it. I've had a little bit of difficulty filming. First of all, trying to get up the nerve to film after being absent for 3 months has been kind of a problem. But my phone, the storage keeps shutting me down. So I'm going to pretty much wrap it up here. That is all I have to show. And hopefully I can make a commitment to try to come back sooner than 3 months because it's way too long. So I appreciate you all for watching. We are a really small channel. I'm saying I'm a small channel. But I do appreciate everybody that's checking me out and giving me kind and encouraging words and waiting for another episode. So until I come back again and until we have a chance to hang out again, I hope that you have happy knitting times and sparks come off your needles. Bye bye.